today I don't have advice for you. I have encouragement for you that I think one or many of you needed to hear on this day. I just feel it in my heart. I was thinking about encouraging you about the beautiful and divine purpose for your life and how much you as a woman matter. And I came across some writing from my dear and beloved friend, Mrs. Nick. Now, for those of you who have been around for a long time, Mrs. Nick was a dear friend of mine. She was my mentor in women's ministry. She and I worked together in ministry for 2 years before she passed away. And so much of what she did and taught me lives on in what I share with all of you. As I was thinking about what I wanted to encourage you with this week, I came across some of Mrs. Nick's writings. And there's something that I just felt in my heart that one or many of you needed to hear, that she shared with some women on retreat many years ago when we were working together. I wrote this down in my notebook. These words, they really, really moved me. And I wanted you to hear these words and let them sink into your soul. She said, "Sometimes you may have heard me say that you are a thought of God. Let me elaborate on that notion. It's like God had this great idea. He was tootling around heaven, and he stopped in his tracks. Wait a minute. Wow, of course. She is exactly what the world needs right here, right now. This minute. And then you were, and here you are, and no one can take your place. No one can do for the world what you alone can do. If you weren't here, there would be a hole in the heart of the universe, and everything would be off kilter and out of order. There is a purpose in you, that you have all the talents needed to be and do. So I'm going to ask you to do something you may not have planned on doing. I want you to trust God, the God who thought of you. Trust that there is a reason for you that is divine, holy, and sacred, and worthy of love. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine with me God tootling around heaven thinking about you. Trust God that He'll help you make His dream of you come true." Those words, struck me right in the heart when I read them the other night, and I wanted to share those with you because it's so true, and I wanted to encourage you in that this week. She says, there's a purpose in you that you have all the talents needed to be and to do. And some of you, and I feel this as we talk when I'm on the road with you and meeting you, and you just feel like there's not a lot of purpose in your life, that you're not, touching people or reaching people, or like you're just like, what am I doing here? What is the reason that I'm here? What does God want me to do with my life? And I wanted to remind you of that today, that your life matters and that there's a beautiful purpose in place for your life that only you can carry out. And I feel like so often we fall into the trap of believing that like our life only matters if people recognize us or see us, or if we get awards or acclaim, or whatever that might be, if we are seen and known and loved on this grand scale. And I feel like there's so much to be said for that for each of us. We think, what difference can I make? Like, who am I affecting? What change can I create? Like, what, in my little life, in the grand scheme of the world, like, what does it even matter? There's a beautiful and divine purpose unfolding in your life right now. And you, my sister, you matter. You matter to the world. Just like Mrs. Nick said, there's a purpose in you. No one can do for the world what you alone can do. You were uniquely created, that you are seen and you are known and you are loved by God. I know that for a fact. And I am sure that you are seen and known and loved by people around you in your life. And I think sometimes we can easily forget that. We fall into these seasons where it's so challenging and we're so stressed and we can be discouraged and even depressed or lonely, and we feel like, does my life matter? Like, is there a purpose in my life? And I wanted to remind you of that today, that your life does matter, that there is purpose in you. There is purpose in every interaction with the person that you have in your life. There is purpose in your studies right now. There is purpose in your workplace. There is purpose in everything that you do. We are seen and known and loved by God. And when we pour our hearts into the avenues that He has given us in our lives, whether that's, loving and reaching one person, or loving and reaching 10 people or 30 people or 500 people in our day-to-day life, that there is purpose and there is beauty in that. And I don't want you to forget that, and that you are called to be right where you are in this very moment, that God created you for a reason, that you are not an accident, that your life matters very deeply to God's plan for the world, God's plan for existence, God's plan for all things. You matter within that plan. God didn't just make you because he felt like it. She is exactly what the world needs right here, right now, this minute. And there you were, and here you are, and no one can take your place. It makes me very emotional because I want you to know that in your heart and soul, that no one can take your place, that you are unique and unrepeatable. And that becomes this kind of like trite, cheesy kind of thing, but it's not a trite, cheesy thing. It's the gritty, beautiful, deep reality of who you are. And I wanted you to hear that, because some of you don't hear that from anyone in your life, and I know that because you tell me. As long as your heart is beating, it's amazing if you just feel your heartbeat for a second. As long as your heart is beating, God's plan for you is in motion, and he is keeping the world in motion, all the galaxies, the earth spinning, and keeping your heartbeat all at the same time. Nobody can take your place. Never forget that. Keep your hearts up. I'll talk to you soon.